Hi guys. Today you're going to gather some data and you are going to figure out how to report it in graph form, and you're going to use a ruler. So I just want to really quick review how to use a ruler, like where do you find millimeters and centimeters. So if you are going to record in millimeters, you are going to use this little teeny tiny mark. There's 0.1 millimeter, 0.2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 millimeters, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in a centimeter. There are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So the millimeters are these teeny tiny little marks, and the centimeters are these big ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Today I'm going to ask you to use centimeters, and you're going to need to round to the nearest centimeter when you make some measurements. So today's learning target is I can report data in bar graph form. So our key term is bar graph. Say it with me, bar graph. A bar graph is a chart that uses bars to show comparisons of data. Okay. Notebook page 7, you are going to actually get this. I'm going to give you a hard copy of this table. You're going to measure the length of your desktop. You should get about 59 centimeters. Make sure, again, that you round to centimeters. Remember, length is the long way when you measure something. Length of an unsharpened pencil. So I have an unsharpened pencil for you to measure. We should all get the same thing. It should be about 19 centimeters. A length at the bottom of your shoe. All right. Gross, the bottom of your shoe. So do your best. Either put your foot next to the ruler or take your shoe off and measure the bottom of your shoe. If that's hard to do, just flip your foot upside down and figure out how to get a ruler on the bottom there, or step on your ruler. Figure out how to measure the bottom of your foot, the length, right, from your toe to your heel, and put your number here. Don't forget to indicate that you are using centimeters. Then I want you to measure the length from your wrist to your elbow. So here's your wrist, here's your elbow. So you're going to measure from here to here. Okay, you might have to do it on the inside of your arm because you're doing it by yourself. We just want to get some data so that we can build some graphs. All right, the next one you want to measure is the length of your science notebook. And then I already gave you the length of a classroom ruler. It's in 30 centimeters. Make sure you report in centimeters. Today, you are going to then take this data and you are going to build a bar graph here. And you're going to title the graph Measuring Length. So in the end, I'll show you what that looks like. This is page 7. On page 8, yep, another notebook page. On page 8, our learning target is I can report data in line graph form. So our important term is line graph. Say it with me, line graph. It's a chart with points connected by lines to show trends or changes in data. So you're actually going to put your line graph here. You're going to label the x-axis object or item measured. When you build a graph, the x-axis is the one that goes across. It is horizontal. The y-axis is the axis that goes up and down or vertically. I sometimes remember the x-axis because this little x here is across, like a whole cross thing, like it goes across. The lines cross each other. The x-axis goes across. I don't know, maybe that's how you'll remember it too. The other thing that you need to make sure you do when you make a graph is you need to make sure that you underline the title. So make sure you capitalize and you underline a title. So for your line graph, you need to label the x-axis, object or item measured, actually on your graph. And then you need to label the y-axis, length in centimeters. And then you need to give your graph a title. I'll give you a hint. It's the same as the one on page 7. Okay? All right, and on page 7, you had to title your graph Measuring Length. All right, have fun measuring today, but let me give you a clue about your graphs and how to build them before you get started. All right, so when you're doing your bar graph, how you need to do these is you need to turn your graph like this to write in desk, pencil, shoe, arm, notebook, and ruler. Keep in mind, these are in between these kind of lines here. And I also turned my page so I can write length in centimeter. Oh, sorry, you can't see this. There we go. Length in centimeters. Okay. I made sure to title my graph, measuring length, and I used a ruler to underline. Here's something crazy. When you are building a graph, you need to make sure that you are in the bars. So I'm actually going to give you, let me grab a marker here. Okay, so when you build in your bars, you want to keep them in between the two lines. Our desktop measurement was 59, which is way more than 30. So if you don't ever get up to a bar, you want to just make sure that you write the number on top of it, like because this one is going to be higher than the bar. I usually underline or outline my bars. And then I will color it in solidly, no patterns. You don't want it to be too much for your eye to look at. Again, the pencil is 19 centimeters, but because it doesn't hit this 20 bar, I'm gonna just put this line right here and then make sure you write the number right above it. And actually, if you outline with colored pencil, or if you outline with marker, that's a good bar graph. You can see this is starting to look like bars. But again, notice that the letters go with each bar. I know that our ruler is 30 centimeters, so I'm going to outline this bar. I would like you to also notice that I'm not using more than one color, right? One color only. We don't want data to be more complicated when you look at it, okay? So I did draw an arrow to show you that this goes way above this bar. It just didn't fit, right? So I labeled my x-axis object or item measured. I labeled my y-axis length in centimeters, and I titled my graph measuring length. Somewhere you'll have to measure your shoe. I think my shoe is actually pretty small, so if I measure the bottom of my foot, I'll probably end up maybe with 25 centimeters. Your measurement will be different than mine. And do you see how this bar goes right on the line? I don't need to write a number there because it's right on the line. There's no doubt about it. But do you see how when I make these bars, probably this one will be about here. So do you see how that didn't fall on a line? So 15, maybe it was 17 centimeters I want to write up there, but I want to be able to see it. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. My notebook is actually pretty close to the size of my foot, but I think it's probably about maybe 21 centimeters. I'll measure it later, but I didn't measure it today. Yours, again, will be different, but again, because 21 doesn't fit on the line, I'm going to write the number above the bar. Use your pencil to do that. When you make a bar graph, you want to make sure you either color them in solid colors, or you want to make sure you outline them really neatly. I didn't use a ruler. You should use a ruler. All right, so that's how to do a bar graph. Let me show you how to do a line graph. So this is the same information that you used from your first page. You're going to title it measuring length, and you're going to underline it. You're going to turn your paper, and you're going to write length in centimeters. And then you add in, do you see these are different? The desk goes here, the pencil, the shoe, the arm, the notebook, the ruler. They go on a line, whereas in our last one, they went in the bars, right? So when you do a line graph, you want to make sure that you line up your line. So here's the desk measurement at 59 right here. Okay. And then here is my pencil measurement at 19 right here. So if I go over here 20, there's 19. If I go over here 60, there's 59. You don't have to write the numbers in here. If you do, it definitely helps. You always write it on the top. And maybe my shoe, I don't know, I don't remember what I put. Maybe I put it here. And it would be 20, maybe 22. For a line graph, you absolutely 100% all of the time need to make sure, I'm sorry this is so small, you guys can see it pretty good though. You always want to make sure that you use one color and that you use a ruler to connect the points of data so that it's straight, okay? You always start at the very first dot and you end at the very last dot. So that's how it works. You want to make sure that you label it. I think I covered everything unless you have any other questions. When you get data and we do our own labs and you have to make your own graph, please keep in mind that this x-axis is usually 0, or it's like a higher number that you might start with, like if you start with 30 and you go up to 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. The other thing you need to know is that these numbers on the y-axis need to go in equal increments. So if you can see, here's my y-axis here. I went 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. My y-axis here, I went 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You can choose the increments. Like you can count by 2s, you can count by 5s, you can count by 1s. But no matter what you do, they need to be equal increments to make it a good graph. All right, so when you're done actually building your graphs, remember, your graphs are going to go on page 7 and 8 in your notebook. Oh, let me find page 7 and 8. So you're going to put your bar graph on the bottom of page 7. Make sure you title the graph. And you're going to put your line graph on the bottom, middle of page 8. All right, today is a lot of measuring and graphing and coloring. Pick out your favorite colors, use your best handwriting. Just have a really great time measuring and getting data in a graph. All right, good luck.